Path Media. Surrendering is really it's one of the best practices that you can do, and I would wager to say that the people who are really good at surrendering are the best manifestors and co-creators of the life that they want to live, of making their own dreams come true. Hi, my name is Ronnie Cruz. After almost 2 decades as a career network marketer, I realized that despite continual work on my personal and professional development, that I had hit a massive brick wall. So I took a deep and honest look at myself, top to bottom, hoping to find answers, and my search led me to one conclusion. The definitions I held of my business, of my world, of my life were the very things holding me back. If I wanted to change, if I wanted to grow beyond my current circumstances, I had to wipe the slate clean and redefine. This show is dedicated to helping you identify the belief systems, the mindsets, the very definitions that have held you back, and then help you break through those limitations to finally create the life you've been working so hard to achieve. Welcome to the Redefine Podcast. Okay, happy podcast day. Happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show. If you are brand new, and of course, if you're an existing listener and or viewer, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, I just want to get right into it. I've taken, this is like the second day that I've tried to record this episode, and it's also, like the 100th take, but I think I'm finally getting closer and closer to what I actually want to say. I'll save the admin stuff, the housekeeping, for the end of the episode. So make sure you stick around to the end so that you hear the announcements. But let's get right into it. I want to build on last week's conversation. It's really important that we do that for today. Last week we talked about time and the ability to look back, right? The ability that time gives us, the passage of time, the ability it gives us to look back and have clearer vision, right? Have a better perspective, because in the moment we have a narrow perspective, and as time passes, we can look back and have hindsight 2020, right? That's where the saying comes from. So we can look back with more clarity. We can look back with better perspective. And, if we develop that into a practice, we can learn from our past, right? We can learn from our experiences and move forward with more wisdom. It's a really integral part of the growth process. So learning from our past and gaining that wisdom moving forward is kind of where we're going to springboard off today. The future, right? Moving forward. That's what I want to talk about, and facing the future. Scary. It's terribly frightening. It's uncertain. The future is always uncertain. No matter how good we get at visualizing and creating a vision and goals for ourselves, setting our tasks so that we can create the outcomes that we want in our lives, so that we can manifest and attract those things and co-create the life experience that we want. Like no matter how good we get at those things, there is no way 100%. Well, there's no way to be able to know with 100% certainty what tomorrow will bring. It's impossible. I mean, it's just, the future. It's the great unknown. There's no way, unless you're like psychic, but like, I don't know. I'm not really, I'm not versed on psychic powers and psychic abilities, precognition and things like that, right? This isn't a Tom Cruise movie. This is for the everyday person. There's no way. There's like, we have no idea what tomorrow will bring. And so that creates a tremendous amount of uncertainty, even when setting goals and visions for ourselves. Like you question, is it going to happen? Will this really work? And therefore, should I even try? That uncertainty is something that we all face. And I understand that, different people handle uncertainty in different ways. Some can handle it better than others. But no matter who the person is, no matter who you are, we all face that uncertainty regardless, right? Again, because the future is the great unknown. And so the thing that I really want to get into today, the thing that I want to land on, is surrendering to that unknown, right? Because I mean, it's there. It's impossible to avoid. We're hurtling towards the future, whether we like it or not. We're hurtling. I think that's the right word. Yeah, we're hurtling towards that unknown, and so the only thing we can really do is surrender to it. Now, the natural inclination then is to want to control the future and want to manufacture the outcomes, because I mean it's basic survival, right? Our brains are wired to survive, and so we want to, as much as possible, mitigate all those unknowns and mitigate all that uncertainty, in by creating and manufacturing the outcomes that will keep us safe and keep us alive. I mean, it's survival, right? It's survival. It's a very basic, most fundamental, primary directives in our mind. Of all of our brains, we're all wired to survive. First and foremost, that's what the brain is there to keep us, to make sure of, right? It's to keep us alive. And so, anytime we're facing uncertainty, that part of our brain kicks in, right? That directive, that programming overrides everything else, right? Overrides everything else. And so when we're faced with the future, which will always be uncertain, there's going to be a part of our minds, or part of our brains, that will be acting and thinking from a survival standpoint, right? Again, some people handle that uncertainty better than others, and some people face that uncertainty better than others, but we all have that in running in the back of our minds, to some degree or another, and really what it does then, as I said, when we're faced with the future, when we're faced with that uncertainty, instead of surrendering, what we do is we try to control it and we try to manufacture it. The problem is because there will always be a degree of wanting to survive, right? The primary directive. We tend to make plans for the future that are built out of avoiding risk, right? Are built and created out of avoiding, survival, really, avoiding any of those things that are at risk to survival. Right, the brain wants to create as much certainty as possible. So, as you're looking at the future, as you're faced with that vast unknown and that uncertainty, the brain is going to want to create as much certainty as possible. Because it is impossible to know what tomorrow will bring, that practice is ultimately the most futile thing that you can do. Right? It is the most futile thing you can do. And so surrender is really the only option that we have. Surrender to that unknown. Surrender to the fact that we can't control the future. We have no idea what tomorrow will bring. But also, that surrender then requires a tremendous amount of trust. Right? It requires a tremendous amount of trust, and this is something that you really have to develop within yourself, especially if you are very averse to risk. Me, I'm pretty I'm not averse to risk at all. Like I'm a risk taker. I don't know, and maybe it's partly upbringing, and partly I've developed that in myself, and maybe partly I'm just naturally wired that way. But I think I've really just kind of leaned into that, leaned into being a risk taker. But especially for those of you who are not risk takers, you really have to lean into the surrender part. It's important, because you'll never, if you don't, you'll never be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve, and you'll never actually be able to fulfill your dreams and your the visions that you have for yourself, because you'll never take risks, right? You'll always come from a place of wanting to avoid the things that your brain is telling you to avoid. So instead of trying to control the future outcomes, surrender to what comes. Yes, in the moment, visualize and focus on the things that you want to achieve and the things that you want to happen, so that you think about those things in a way that they already exist for you, so that you have that high vibration, and then surrender to what comes. Right? Of course, there's tasks and there's the work that you got to do, but again, that work has to come from a place of surrender, as opposed to a place of wanting to control, right? Wanting to manufacture the outcome. So the trust is really important. That's what I was getting to. There's a couple of things that you can trust that would, I think, really help you surrender to that unknown, right? Surrender to the fact that you cannot control the future. Trust in time. right? Trust in time. And this is the example that I'll give you. I think if you're listening to this, you have faced at any time in your life in the past, you have faced some difficult challenges, right? Some really, really high level adversity, and I mean, like, it's just part of life. I think it's a given that we all have faced some things, right? Especially the older you get, you'll get some mileage under your belt, right? So if you're listening to this, there's a high likelihood that you've faced some really hard times, and if you think about it, if you're listening to this, you've gotten through those hard times, right? Your ability to look back, like we talked about in the last episode, your ability to look back and reflect on the fact that you had hard times means that you got through those things, right? So time will always tell, even if you're going through some stuff now, right? Even if you're going through some adversities and challenges right now in this moment as you're hearing, understand that time will go on, time will pass, and you'll be able to get through it. It may not feel like it that way, but everything that you've gone through in the past before, you got through. So there's no reason to believe that you won't get through those challenges and the things that you face now. Even if you're trying new things, if you're taking a risk and changing careers and following a new path, whatever it might be. Yes, it's uncertain, but understand that you'll be able to get through it, and only time will tell, right? In the here and now, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel uncertain. It's going to feel scary, but only time will tell. So you have to trust that only time will tell. And then you can then, again, reflect back and learn from it and grow from it. And that's the second thing to trust is trust in yourself. Especially if you have used this ability to reflect back and grow and gain wisdom and just be on this constant growth journey. Trust in your own ability to get through whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's experiencing challenges right now or whether you're faced with, doing something new and doing something unknown, doing something scary and what you think is risky. Trust in your own ability because, again, you've already gone through some really, really difficult times, right? There's no reason to think that you can't get through what you're going to go through now, and you're better equipped moving forward if you were really using your past as lessons, if you're really reflecting back on your experiences in the past and growing from those things. So you can really trust in yourself. Build that self-confidence. That I think is an incredible practice. That reflecting on the past is an incredible practice for so many things, right? Again, you learn from the past, you gain that experience, you gain that wisdom, but that also builds your self-confidence, right? That builds your self-confidence. Well, it builds your confidence in yourself and your ability to face challenges and adversities, right? It gives you that internal certainty, and that's really the only place certainty can come from. It's internally. You can't look externally for certainty because everything is uncertain because time is moving forward. You're always faced with uncertainty every given moment because it's right in front of your face. The next moment is right in front of your face. The future is always right in front of your face. So uncertainty is always right in front of your face, right? But internally, you can develop certainty by surrendering to that uncertainty, right? It's so weird. It's. I feel like it may sound like we're talking in circles, but again, surrendering is really. It's one of the best practices that you can do, and I would wager to say that the people who are really good at surrendering are the best manifestors and co-creators of the life that they want to live, of making their own dreams come true. Whereas the people who do the opposite of surrender, i.e., trying to control and manufacture, the outcomes of the future, are the ones that have a harder time fulfilling their goals and their dreams and manifesting, right? Manifesting their dream lives, right? So surrender is really, really important. It's really, really important. It's one of those things that it's a practice. And if you listen to this episode again and last week's episode, you'll be able to kind of get it under your skin and develop this practice of being able to face uncertainty by creating more internal certainty, right? You'll be able to face that external uncertainty by creating more internal uncertainty, right? Right? Okay, that's it. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a tough concept. It's a pretty high. I don't know. I don't want to say high, but it's a pretty tough concept and principle to wrap your brain around. And so that's why I wanted to dedicate 2 episodes to it. As I said, I tried to do it in episode 365, and I just really wanted to expand on it. So that's why I did 2 episodes. So yeah, listen back on last week, listen back on this week, save these episodes so that you can listen back on them on a regular and kind of, again, develop that ability to reflect back, develop that certainty, internal certainty, so that you can surrender to the future, right? And then, yeah, the manifestation becomes a beautiful thing. Okay, so that's going to do it. I'll leave it at that for now. I'll likely revisit this topic in the future, but let's just get into some admin stuff, some announcements. Really, the main things are, I want to remind you that Path of the Jedi is up and running. It's going strong. It's the other podcast. We used to have 2 episodes of Redefine a week, and I cut that down to 1 to make room for Path of the Jedi. So if you're looking for something to fill that second time slot in your week, go to Path of the Jedi. I'll leave the link in the show notes of this episode, but you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And then the other thing is Ronnie's Health Corner. That's the new segment exclusive to our YouTube channel, the Redefine YouTube channel, Redefine Podcast YouTube channel. I want to do a health corner, sharing with you all my health tips, all my health secrets, all my personal health practices. With the goal of helping you achieve the things that you want to achieve in your health. So if you're looking to make some health changes, if you're looking to make some health improvements, go to our YouTube. I'll leave the link in the show notes of this episode. It's exclusive to our YouTube channel. So make sure if you're interested in health tips, my own personal health secrets, you go to our YouTube. Again, the link will be in the show notes of this episode. So that's going to do it. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week with a fresh new one. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.